All right, guys, whenever you're ready. Ladies and gentlemen, peace and other. So just introduce yourselves and what topic you're going to be covering.
My name is Jacob Bentucci, and I will be covering the topic of communication, more particularly the Dalton College shooting and what followed after that.
And I'll be speaking about Vanessa Gordon and her political science view on peace and other.
Mine was Diana Rice, the environmental student.
Excellent. Go for it, Giancarlo.
Thank you very much. Before 2006, the concept of peace was not as prevalent and well developed within Dalton College as it is today. In general, peace has become a catch-all that encompasses basic greetings and decency, but in its more genuine form, it can make a positive impact in small and large ways. A change, however, was made regarding how the college approached the matter of peace following the shooting tragedy that happened one ill-fated day in 2006, when a gun-shotting student caused 2 deaths, including his own, and several other injuries of innocent colleagues who wanted nothing more than a peaceful day at college. Students were immediately evacuated, security and police sprung into drastic and necessary action, and the tragedy eventually concluded, leaving a permanent imprint on many impacted students. As Mrs. Varika mentioned, following the incident, there was a negative atmosphere of shock, sadness, and anger that surrounded the college, as students and staff alike attempted to move on from what happened. Substantial change was made in everyone's life brought on from the event, mainly because there was a need for it at such a dire time. This involved confronting fears in order to boost one's self-confidence, finding peace within oneself in order to enlighten their view of the world around them, and altering one's view of the other in order to make peace with them as well. The manner in which the college handled education changed significantly, and the collegial experience improved among students and staff alike, ultimately improving the atmosphere within the college and promoting this newly ameliorated aspect of peace. These ameliorations came about as a result of the need to improve things in light of such traumatic occurrence. Ultimately, as a result of these combined efforts, personal changes, and highlighted values, peace amongst oneself and others came to become a fundamental, heavily beneficial concept. Having said all this regarding the phenomenal process made by the college following 2006, one question still remains. Does being open lead to establishing peace? If inclusion, optimism, and helpfulness are all forms of openness, and if these qualities attribute positivity as well as help to boost one's quality of life, then the answer to this question is yes. If you see somebody sitting alone at a table while you're with your friends, invite them over and welcome them into your circle. If you see somebody struggling with their studies, offer to help them grasp difficult concepts. If you notice that one of your friends is not feeling particularly happy, do what you can to change their mood for the better. You never know what good you can do for somebody else unless you take the initiative and spread peace. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Giancarlo. Rachel's next.
So, before entering the panel with Vanessa Gordon, I was pretty confused. Didn't understand the reading at all. But the video helped a little. I was in the borderline of confusion and okay, I get it, everything. But it was not that bad. But when I entered, she also was confused because she thought it was teachers and education people that were supposed to have a conference with. But she ended up explaining her text, which helped a lot, especially between the battles or the enmity between the Irish and the British. And all this happened in Ireland. Like, it was an inner conflict of itself, even if it was generally two different people, but it was all taking part in one place, in one island. But even though there was so much confusion and there's so much disparity and people were so conflicted about what to do next because they didn't want to stay in this type of regime and stay confused and stay under the radar. They want to make their voices known. And the Irish were made clear that they wanted to be independent. They didn't want to be with the British or with the United Kingdom. But there was always a part of the people that wanted to be with Britain, and that caused major conflicts too, especially inside of Ireland. But what mostly came out of that message, or her explanation and how she described the text, is the two different points were not accepted from both parties. They weren't accepted from either those who want to be independent or those who want to be dependent on the United Kingdom, and that was the major cause, or one of the reasons why there was still so much fume and fighting, and there's no responsibility taken. So when John Hume came and said that there was no peace achievable except through negotiations, that's when it was clear that, okay, you had to accept each other's difference. You had to be able to see, okay, yes, we're not the same. We don't have the same point of views. We don't have anything that are in correlation. We have no points of interest, but we can still make it work. We can still see a side where we can negotiate and have some certain sort of peace where everything is capable of working together, even though we don't have the same interest in the same country. So that's what especially stood out, and that's how I saw the other panels too. The difference between excluding someone from your from your group of friends, and not being welcoming to others, and also the fact that the environmental system and racism in environments, that's very shocking, because it was just because people didn't accept how people think and how their values are based on their race, or how they look like, or what their religious purposes are.
Thank you, Rachel. Daejong.
Okay, so just in case you don't know how to spell my name, it's Dajeonglee, Dajeonglee. Yeah. So my topic was on environmental racism that Diana talked about, and like during her speech, she talked about how she and her team worked hard to pass the Bill 111 in order to stop environmental pollution targeted to specific race groups, especially the Mi'kmaq and Africans living in Nova Scotia. Originally, the bill was made by the members of these communities, which allowed them to better represent their interests. But later, a new bill was created under the name of Environmental Bill of Rights. And although it's a great work, and it's the first provincial environmental bill, and it followed the idea of like preventing environmental racism, it did not mention the specific concerns of the Mi'kmaq and Africans of Nova Scotia, which are the main victims in this case, but it rather addressed to broader racial groups. But the thing is, polluting areas are located near these communities disproportionately, and as it is the case in most marginalized small communities, they don't have enough resources or political access to solve the problem. So in that sense, we could say that the new bill failed to achieve its original purpose, which was to make the government acknowledge that there are specific racial aspects to environmental polluting. And also it failed to protect those who were the most impacted by environmental racism. Also, there isn't enough attention paid to the racial aspects causing behind the environmental pollution. As we could notice during the class discussion, only a few of us heard about or knew about the environmental racism, but most of us didn't know about it. And even environmental organizations or activists don't mention like the racial aspects in their work. So Dawson did a few projects to increase our awareness, such as creating gardens that values the indigenous knowledge, or creating an indigenous space. and I think it's great because it kind of involved all sort of communities instead of like excluding them because they are like different or they are a minority. And it's by like including including what's different or like what we could see as different from us, and by normalizing by making normal what's different, that we can achieve peace with others.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Giancarlo? Any questions for Rachel? Any questions for Daejong? Thank you very much. Jay, you're up.
Sorry, Giancarlo, it's not me.